And welcome back to my channel. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And I'm going to do something rather difficult right now, because even with notes, this is a difficult one. This is one of the strangest fucking movies that I have ever seen. It is the Psychotronic horror film called Ice Cream on the Beach. This is from Dark Side releasing UK collection. It was a burnt. I don't know. I've never known. I mean, you can go to like Quality Booters and they have it on a BRR, but I was really shocked that this was on a BRR, and I have a letter written to them like, is this the way y'all release your movies, or is this a bootleg? Because it doesn't seem like a bootleg, but I don't know. Anyway, man, because you got to be a cheap Dark Side releasing isn't that cheap. I'm like, you got to be cheap motherfuckers to be using BRRs when you're not a bootlegger. Anyway, Ice Cream on the Beach. Get it? Ice Cream on the Beach. I Scream on the Beach. Yes, it's that kind of movie. I think one of the most interesting things about this movie is that it was filmed, the cinematography is filmed to look like you are watching an old VHS tape from the rental store. And I'm not talking about a brand new one that just come in. I'm talking about a VHS tape that's been fucking sitting there for a while. You know what I mean? And even they have that little horror thing. You know, they have it like designed like a VHS tape, and it really does look like you're watching a VHS tape, which is pretty funny, or it's pretty interesting. I don't recall seeing anything like that in the recent memory, but yes, they filmed it to look like you're watching a VHS tape, and you know, it's got the noise, it's got the little squiggles. There like 3 or 4 times there's a little interference, you know, the little white lines. So yeah, it's pretty cool in that aspect. And I'm talking about it because how am I going to explain this movie? I don't know. Okay, we're going to try though. I'm going to pull out all of my spotlight reviewer stops to try to get the point of this movie across. Okay, so this movie opens with you see a man he stops by a building. It looks like a research building, and then he grabs something and he's running down the beach, and then this killer in a gas mask, like a World War I gas mask with the little can thing on the front, and you know what I'm saying. What the fuck am I talking about? It's that thing right there, right? So that killer right there cuts him up, cuts his throat, stabs him in the back, cuts his throat, and then we're introduced to Emily and Claudine. Now, Emily is the main character in the movie. Her and her best friend Claudine, they work at the pub in a seaside town called Mellow Coast. It looks just like Blackpool too. I swear to God, I've been in that neighborhood. But it's 4 days to Halloween. We're introduced to Dave, who I don't even know what he is. And then we're introduced to Bance. Yes, that's a pretty common British name actually. Bance, B-A-N-C-E. So we're introduced to Bance and Jeremy. That's the dipshit squad that hang around the pub. Bance and Claudine are together. Dave likes Emily, but she's like a total fruitcake with blue hair who doesn't really, is just not really interested in him. But he tries. So you notice this creepy guy that they're complaining about that keeps watching Emily. It's now 3 days to Halloween. Emily's mom accuses her of lying about having seen her dad killed, which now we know that guy killed at the beginning of the movie was her dad, and supposedly she witnessed it when she was a kid, but the mother doesn't believe her, and neither does anyone else. And her mother's a total skank. I mean, complete slag. What a pikey slag that bitch is. But anyway, so we then see this local fisherman. Oh, his name is Keith. He's who Dave and Jeremy and Vance all work for, right? So we see him, and he gets killed by the guy. And the thing he said before he got killed was, "I knew this day would come." So Emily ends up telling Claudine about seeing her dad get murdered. Paula, who is the barmaid at this place, who is this movie. The two, Claudine and Emily, are okay, but fucking Emily's mom and Paula, there's just like complete pikey slags. You just look up the term. So Paula doesn't believe her either, making fun of her all the time. We see that Emily's mom gets gotten by the gas man. That's what I call him, the gas man. I call this killer the gas man because he's wearing a gas mask. So he gets Emily's mom, but they never even mention her again in the whole fucking movie. That's weird. But I'm still trying to process this film. We see Emily dreaming about her dad, and ends up waking up and finding a box of her dad's things sitting on her bed. It's like, how the fuck did that get there? It turns out that the creepy guy that's always looking at her is named Dr. A. She finds like a picture of Dr. Lloyd, her dad, and Dr. A. So she discovers that creepy guy is a friend of her dad's. It's now 2 days till Halloween. Emily ends up searching for the creepy guy because she wants to find out. So she finds his apartment, and she finds all of this like weird conspiracy theory stuff and pictures of her dad and stuff about this Dex corporation that they worked for and all of this. So she finds all of this, I guess we would call evidence. She does find all of that in his apartment. He catches her, tells her to go and to leave, that her dad wouldn't want her to be involved in all of this. Talks to someone on the phone, tells them to leave her alone after she leaves. We're introduced to the lady cop who's been delving into the murder. She's very strange as well, to Keith's murder. And she's sort of linked it to Dex Corp, and that makes her remember about Emily's dad disappearance and how they all seem connected. Emily asks Dave out finally, and then we have some stupid scene of them like playing around in arcades and shit. She tells Dave about her dad and the mystery of the three doctors that worked, or the two other doctors that worked with her dad at this Dex Corp kind of thing. We end up getting to see Claudine beheaded and Vance have his face smashed in at her apartment by the gas man. Emily comes freaking out that her best friend has been killed. She ends up talking and at the same time remembers Detective Kincaid. That's this lady. Kincaid tells her chief about, this Dex Corp mystery and these doctors and stuff like that. He tells her to drop it and won't have anything to do with it. Meanwhile, Emily is seeing another vision of Dr. Lloyd, whom had also been murdered by that Keith guy. And the ghost tells her to find Dr. A and that he could explain more. Now we're up to Halloween. Emily tells Kincaid about Dr. A and this Scott's relic. That is Scott's relic. That is the project that they were working on. Scott's relic. Not relic. Scott's. Yeah, Scott's relic. You'll see why that matters in a minute. Scott's relic. Project. I'm good. It's just freaking me out. Okay. I've never had this much trouble trying to, explain a movie. So, she ends up telling Detective Kincaid about all of this. We see two more detectives, the two other guy detectives that she was working with. We see them killed very silly on the beach. A lot of this movie is very silly, like you would expect from an old 1980s VHS thing, which is what this is supposed to be about. That's what this is supposed to be, a throwback to that kind of movie. So, we see those two detective kills on the beach. Detective Kincaid has a breakthrough about this investigation and ends up telling the chief, but he gets mad at her instead. Tells her that she has finally put her nose in too far, and he kills her. Tells her that he will now watch after Emily. Right. So he'll watch over her. We see Dave drunk at the bar. Him and Paula. Paula gets him to take her home to Jeremy. So all three of them are going to sit around. The only reason she really did that, though, wanted him to go there, was because Jeremy was watching what's supposedly a banned movie in the UK called The Decorator. And when she hears that, she kind of freaks out and wants Dave to take her there. So we then switch to Jeremy, who's watching this supposedly banned horror movie. And we see Paula in it, where it's basically a softcore porn, something like Amazon Tatas in the Bay of Blood or some shit like that straight guys like to watch, I guess. So, she was actually in that, and that's what she went there to do. But she ends up getting pissed off and leave because it's too late. They've all seen it. They know that she's went and done this softcore horror porn movie kind of thing. She ends up leaving, running to the beach where she is killed. Yeah, that was a good kill. All of them are good kills. There's just some of them that are really, really over the top silly. But that was a good kill. She was skewered. Because she's standing at the wall on the beach, and the wall is about right here. So she's standing up against it, which means that the gas man's feet would be about right here. And he's standing above her. And she looks up at him and sees him, and he's got a harpoon that he puts right through her mouth and comes out her nether regions. So that was pretty, that was pretty interesting. So, now that all of this has happened, the chief goes in there and starts messing with Emily. You'll be all right, but you need to stop investigating all of this stuff. And ends up, he gets a phone call, and I guess he's told to kill Emily. So he goes and tries to kill Emily. But she manages to kill him instead. Dave and Jeremy are likewise ugly killed. I think Gasman drowns Dave. He's been puking because he's had 37 shots of tequila or something. So he's puking his guts up while Jeremy watches this movie. and Jeremy is like stabbed in the head, and Dave is drowned in his own bucket of puke, which was pretty gross. Emily shows up, finds them both dead, tries to give Dave CPR. Remember what I just said? How he was killed? Emily tries to give him CPR. I'll let you figure out just how gross that is. So, all of a sudden, though, Jeremy, whom we know is very, very, very dead, he stands up like a zombie and starts coming after her. She ends up like taking off and running. She actually goes back to that research facility. She goes in there. She finds her dad's room. You know, all of his junk laying around. And finds his tape. And it turns out that they were doing experiments on subjects. They were animal subjects. And he had found out that they were experimenting on these medications that they were using on these animal things on humans. Weirdly enough, though, this project, as I said earlier, was called Scott's Relic. Well, he turns to the camera, because, you know, she's like watching this video. And he turns to the camera, and he's like, Scott's Relic equals killer socks. And I was like, what? I actually like paused the film and I'm like, oh my god, Scott's Relic spelled backwards is killer socks spelled backwards. I'm like, I think my eyes rolled back so far in my head that for the first time in my life, I actually saw the back of my brain. So I'm like, killer socks. Okay. So basically, these sock-looking creatures attach themselves to your feet. And that's how they take you over. And you become like their zombie thing. So even if you're killed, these creatures can like then come and slip over your foot. And yeah. So she's even attacked by one. And it's like a little sock thing that talks and all. It looks like a little... It just goes completely... It takes a big, giant swan dive into the silliest fuck pool at this moment. So, once you've done that, you know, this guy runs in, though, and kills the sock right before it gets her. Gets on her feet. It kills the sock. And the sock was talking to her and telling her shit. I can't remember exactly what it was saying. Probably because I was too fucking stunned at the developments that have just occurred. But this guy comes in, looks like Dolph Lundgren from a Mercenary or some shit. And it turns out that that's her dad. He actually... Yes, he had his throat cut. Yes, he was stabbed in the back. And, well, what did he say? He was stabbed 72 times. And his throat was cut. But then they show it in a flashback that he gets up off the beach, he gets to his car, and he wraps his neck in masking tape. And I guess that's how he's been hunting down these socks ever since. So, all of these people that have been killed in town start converging like zombies because they've all got, you know, these sock creatures on them. And he admits that he's been hunting these creatures and that that's what he's been doing all this time, that she thought that he was dead. All the victims' Zeds are now after them. And then in the final scene, they sort of like break through the door, you know, facing off. She's got a shovel and he's got a gun, and they're facing off against this little hallway full of these well, Dave and Jeremy, all of them have been taken over. And they vow to hunt them down and kill all the socks to the end of the world, throughout the world. They vow to track down all the Scocks. And then it goes off. And you're left sitting there going, that was the weirdest fucking shit that I have ever seen in my life. It was good, but it was strange. And the sock thing, if I was sitting in the room with the director when that revelation came, I'd have slapped the absolute shit out of him. But what I'm saying is, on the silly factor and the cool factor, is that as long as I wasn't sitting in the room with the writer and director when I first watched this movie, because I would probably injure them. But later on, if I watched it like I did alone in my house, and then I met them, I would be like, that was pretty cool. I think y'all have seriously mental problems, but that was pretty cool. That was all right, and I wouldn't injure them. But in the moment, because I tell you, when the dad on the tape turned around and said "killer socks," I was just like, oh. Well, I didn't see that coming, but then again, who in their right mind would ever even entertain something like that was coming? Killer socks. That was funny. Okay. So there you have. I just had to spotlight it. If you like weird, if you like Psychotronic, B-movies, and want to experience something quite strange, but very entertaining, I would get Ice Cream on the Beach. It is maniacally. I'm just going to leave all the adjectives alone because it's just maniacally insane. It's crazy. But every once in a while, I think you need it. Girlfriend from Hell. That's the movie that I was trying to think of in the last video. So if you didn't see it, you don't know what I'm talking about. But Girlfriend from Hell is the movie that's got the nuns with the guns, and one of the funniest scenes in a movie I've ever seen. But anyway, Ice Cream on the Beach from 2020, made to look like it was filmed in, and that you are watching a 1981 VHS tape that's been rented about 216 times. And I think it was very cool. I've not seen anything like that before. And it probably took them more effort to make it look like an old 1981's VHS tape that you're watching than it did if you made it look like something from the MCU. I mean, that took a lot of effort to make it look like you were watching an old VHS tape. So I thought that was very, very interesting. But Ice Cream on the Beach from 2020, directed by Alexander Churchyard and Michael Holliday. Did I not do an intro to this? I don't think I did. Written by Alexander Churchyard and Max Davenport. Stars Hannah Paterson, Dani Thompson, and Reis Daniel. And, better late than never. So, if you see it somewhere, know what you're getting into. And always worry when your odd socks disappear. Where is the other one? They say in this movie that that's the answer. That's why everybody's has odd socks. It's because one is off somewhere eating somebody. It's on somebody's foot, causing them to be serial killers and shit. Better answer than none. You've always wondered, where's your odd socks go? Now you know. I Scream on the Beach. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. And always remember, never forget, you're a very, very special person. Even if you're not wearing 2 odd socks, walking around like a zombie, and killing everyone. Bye-bye. Really check it out. It's definitely one of those crazy movies. They don't call it Psychotronic for nothing.